Well, now let's take a hop, skip and a jump over the South Pacific Ocean and visit Brazil. Now, their pavilion here at Expo 2020 is nothing short of spectacular. It's focused on promoting sustainability and mobility. Now, this is a combination of two overarching Expo themes, with the use of sugarcane ethanol being championed as the future of sustainable transportation.
Now, production of ethanol through fermentation and sugarcane juice and molasses has a low carbon footprint, and the mass use of ethanol as a biofuel promises to help global transport sector cut back on its carbon emission. Here's more to find out.
Water runs through the veins of Brazil. The country owns 12% of the globe's freshwater surface reserves. 63,000 kilometers of blue water waves weave through the Pantanal and soak the Amazon basin, threading a giant water tapestry through Brazil. And so it is little wonder that Brazil has created an aquatic, immersive-based experience for its visitors to realize the watery magnificence of Brazil. Guests are invited to step into this liquid world and walk through a mesmerizing and refreshing body of water. And it is here in the pavilion that one can dabble, reflect, and observe the flow of knowledge, wisdom, and water. Inspired by the rainforests of the Amazon and the waterways of the Pantanal region, the pavilion is built like a big cube floating in the water. Visitors can soak their feet and toes in the ankle-deep water and absorb and refresh their views on many challenges facing the planet. And inspiring us to action is Brazil, promoting biodiversity and environmental preservation, not to mention their amazing contributions to future mobility. Brazil has been creating waves for some time now. In a world where the transport sector is responsible for almost 1/4 of the emissions of polluting gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect, Brazil has come up with a remarkable and very sweet solution. And this is how they are doing it. Brazil is home to the famous sugarcane cars. They have the largest fleet of cars using ethanol derived from sugarcane as an alternative fuel to fossil fuels. Ethanol now accounts for almost 40% of light vehicle fuel needs in Brazil. This is because Brazil is the largest producer of sugarcane and the biggest exporter of sugar in the world. Ethanol is a sustainable fuel with direct emissions up to 90% lower than those of gasoline or diesel. Today, sugarcane is the #1 source of renewable energy in Brazil, supplying almost 17% of the country's total energy consumption. When sugarcane was introduced to the country 500 years ago, it was more valuable than gold. Since then, sugar has been an integral part of Brazil's social, economic, and political history. Since 2003, the use of ethanol has prevented the emission of more than 570 million tons of CO2 into the atmosphere, and in this way, helping slow down climate change. To reach this number in any other way, it would be necessary to plant 4 billion trees over the next 20 years. Ethanol production is highly sustainable, and the industry is guided by strict rules like their zero deforestation policy. Sugarcane plantations are located far away from fragile and valuable ecosystems. In fact, they can only plant sugarcane more than 2,000 kilometers away from the Amazon biome. The president of UNICA, Evandro Gussi, informs us that ethanol is an important building block in the new era of sustainable mobility to slow down climate change. Brazil truly believes that ethanol is the fuel of the future and, of course, the present. And it is one of the main bridges to the new era of sustainable mobility. The sweet smell of successful solutions is certainly hanging in the air and inspiring a new awakening for us all. Let's get moving in the sweetest way.
Well, the Brazilian pavilion is being led by the Brazilian Sugarcane Industry Association, UNICA. To tell us more about the work being done by UNICA and the vision it has set for sustainable mobility, we're very pleased to be joined now in the studio by Evandro Gussi, UNICA's President and CEO.
Yep, Mr. Gussi is a lawyer and has served as a congressman in Brazil. His work is promoting sustainable biofuels and is very well known for that, and authored the Renavio Key Regulatory Act in the Brazilian biofuel sector. Now, sir, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you for this opportunity. Wonderful to be here with you.
Now, tell us a little bit about, firstly, the bioethanol fuel as a whole, obviously, how it can change the emissions and reduce carbon footprints, especially within your sector.
The ethanol is able to reduce until 90% of emissions when you compare with petrol, for example, because we use petrol and ethanol only in light fleet in Brazil. And we have 40 years experience using ethanol since the 70s of last century. Then this is one wonderful solution for the mobility. In Brazil, for example, we substitute 50% of our petrol demand for ethanol with a reduction, incredible reduction of CO2 footprint.
I was so interested. We just saw that report there by Dina looking at how sugarcane is being used as your largest source of renewable energy in Brazil. I think it is responsible for close to 20% of creating your energy. How did that come about? How exactly does it work?
Oh, this we use as a source of electricity, the sugarcane bags. You crop the sugarcane and use its juice to make sugar, of course, to make ethanol. Ethanol is used in Brazil in two ways. First, blended in petrol. All petrol in Brazil has 27% of ethanol mixed, reducing 20% of carbon footprint of petrol. But you can use in Brazil also the hydrous ethanol. It's a pure ethanol used in a flex fuel fleet. 8% of the cars in Brazil are flex fuel. Then you arrive in a fuel station as you arrive in a coffee station, and the person asks, what do you prefer, petrol with 27% or ethanol? And the people see the price, the environmental aspects, and decide, oh, I want petrol or I want ethanol.
Is it a lower price for consumers?
In a lot of part of the regions, ethanol has a lower price than petrol. This is important for our economy because we avoid importation of gasoline also, and the reduction of carbon footprint. And more, when you crop and make the juice, make ethanol, but you use also the bagasse to produce electricity, clean electricity also. And more than this, now we are using to produce biomethane. It's an equal molecule, the natural gas, but with 6% of carbon footprint in comparison with natural gas. From where? From the vinasse. When you produce ethanol, each 1 liter of ethanol produce trash of vinasse 10 liters. Wow. 1 for 10. Use vinasse, you use filter cake, is another trash, and the straw of sugarcane, and you put in biodigesters, and it produces biomethane. Use it for electricity, for trucks, for machines, a lot of. We say that we have wonderful reservation in our fields of biomethane. This will have a wonderful hump up in the next years.
I think it's incredible you're making such an impact. We know that 1/4 of global pollution levels come from the transport industry, so the fact you're able to make these changes really is awe-inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Really appreciate your thoughts.
Well, I thank you.
Thank you very much.